Hey everyone, today is Monday, April 21st, and I hope all of you are doing okay. We all know sometimes, like I said, it's minute by minute. The very first thing I want to say is to all those wonderful protesters out there who protested over the weekend. It was recorded that there were more protests, more people attending these protests across the country than ever for the Vietnam War. How inspiring is that? How um, positive is that? And like I've been telling you guys since, I don't know, January, these protests will increase. There will be floods of them. And they will grow exponentially. But not only that, in time, people will be more demanding. Okay? They're very peaceful now, the protests, which is great. Um, and to all those who participated, thank you. I did not. I'm just not led to do that type of protesting now. I do it in many other ways. This is one of them. Um, and I'm sometimes a keyboard warrior uh, on the different social media channels, but and a few other ways. But to all those that participated, thank you, and thank you. We appreciate you. We see you. And so many of you have left comments saying that, hey, you're going to these protests and participating. And extra thank you. But like I said, these protests will become more demanding and more exacting in what they are expecting and what they want. The administration is hearing and seeing these protests. The politicians are hearing and seeing these protests. They are working, and they will work even more. Um, they will become, we'll have pockets of violence. I do see that. Um, but even that too will be somewhat necessary in the grand scheme of things. Things will be needed to draw attention to specific things that need to be corrected. And the sort of violence will call attention to that. Okay? So, thanks again. We see you, we appreciate you, and your efforts are definitely not in vain. And to all those, quite a few people had said my last couple of videos, my sound was kind of down. I hope I'm correcting that. Please let me know. Um, I've got it turned up to the full. You know, I'm not like a master with this. So, Pope Francis has passed away. I knew when I left the last video that something was going to happen, and I wouldn't post until something major was going to happen. I wouldn't post until it did. And I had woke up last night. I guess it was about, I don't know, 3 something. And I turned my phone on because I knew something had happened. I wasn't sure what, but when I turned it on, I saw that he had passed. And if you guys remember, I gave the end of March as there was going to be 3 deaths. One was going to be non-political, 2 were going to be political, and they're going to be major deaths. It didn't happen at the end of March. I got my dates wrong. This is the start of this is the one non-political. However, I want to add to that prediction of what was given to me. It's now saying there's going to be a cluster of 6 total. And I don't know how that's going to unfold of deaths, but this is the start, and there will be a total of 6 in a sort of a cluster. 2 will definitely be major political. Um, I won't. Um, I won't gander a guess on the time frame this time. Um, since my time frame was a few weeks off last time, but I will say this is the start, and there's going to be now a total of 6. Now, something else that came to me regarding Pope Francis, there is going to be some type of female influence involved with his passing. I don't know whether, and it'll be like a first type of thing. So I don't know whether they're going to have a female speaking at his, they call it celebration of, there's a term for it that they call it, but of his passing. But we'll just say his funeral procession for us. I don't know whether they're going to have a woman, a major figure in the Catholic Church speaking that's a woman. But somehow there will be a woman involved in his passing, whether they're going to nominate a woman, but somehow there's going to be some type of female energy around involving his passing. Okay, so I see that, and it's interesting. A lot of people know that the Pope has a very major influence here on this earthly realm, but his passing, once he sheds this physical vessel, he is treated just like every other spirit entity that passes. He is not looked at as a celebrity. He is not looked at as a major figure over there. He is treated just the same as if it were me or you or our neighbor down the street. It's just the same. There is no celebrity type of status in the spiritual realms. All souls are essentially celebrities. All souls vibrate and share in that infinite source of energy that's always present and that dominates and makes up the cosm of the universe. Okay, so he, although may have achieved a measure of greatness here, he is looked upon as another divine entity that has just graduated another earthly life and is now moving on and reviewing his life and deciding what he wants to do next, if he wants to do anything next, in full conscious mode of the spiritual realm and all that it entails. So it may be a shock to his system initially that, hey, I had all this stardom and fame and recognition, while here, but when he gets over there, he is, amongst the zillions of other souls that are experiencing life fully conscious of the spiritual realms. Okay, so he was, as you, most of you know, I am non denominational. I have no allegiance to any religion, sect, or particular belief, because I've seen that there is none of that on the other side. Um, but I do respect this particular Pope because he did step out of the rigid dogma of the Catholic faith, and embraced more groups, more marginalized groups. He was for the environment. He appointed much more women that had ever been appointed, in certain key positions. And as you know, those of you who have read my first book, especially describing my near death experience, um, my parents sent me for a time to a Catholic school for middle school. And I just could not align with Catholicism even before that, and that was before my near death experience. I just couldn't align with some of the tenets of the faith. For those that do, wonderful. I just couldn't. But like I said, I do respect him being in his position, taking a bold stance on many things that um, the Catholic Church did not support. Okay? And um, I will just say this. There was also some interesting fact of the matter that people were saying that JD Vance was like one of the last people to see him, and look what happens. JD Vance's visit has zero to do with the Pope's passing. That was his destined time to go. No person, as I've told you guys, can affect another person's demise on this earth unless that is agreed upon. Okay, so, um, we're not going to buy into something that's. It's just ironic and interesting that that visit happened when it did. Okay, I will say that. But, um, so, saying that about him, thank I do thank the Pope for being a champion for those that the Catholic Church has not championed before. I will give him his kudos for that. Um, Last week, I missed seeing the Timestamp Bandits brilliant timestamp summation of my video. And I'm so sorry, so sorry. I don't know how I missed it because I always look for it. But hopefully I won't miss it this time. And if I do, just send me like a, yo, Vina, what's going on? Where you at, girl? But his summation, his timestamps are brilliant. Brilliant. And much appreciated. Okay, Target, and I do want to talk about. I got a lot of questions, and I think they're fascinating questions, and we'll discuss them at the end. But I do want to handle some news. Target is now asking Al Sharpton for help in changing their image of their store since Target dropped DEI at the behest of this administration. They fell in line. They FAFO'd. Found out that, oh wow, this has repercussions. Will they recover? I don't even care enough to try to see what I get intuitively. You know, one of the things about Don the Con, and I've done videos on this, and I've told you guys several times, he is a test of integrity. One of his missions being here, besides being just true a chaotic agent, but he is a test of integrity. So basically, if you support him, your integrity needs some tuning, some work. If he repulses you, if you're turned off by him, you know that you're on the right path. Um, if you notice, many people in his inner circle and even not so inner circle have suffered certain fates by supporting him. A large percentage of the lawyers that have supported him have either been disbarred or are in trouble themselves. People that support him financially have ended up losing millions or going bankrupt, etc. And I could list, there's so many I could just, I mean, I'd be here for hours telling you. But it's basically what happens when you support and fall in line and going against your true good divine nature, and which is what happens with all those that are supporting him. And sadly, many Republicans, MAGA Republicans, are not in touch with their spirituality, their truer sense, and not even their spirituality, but their core of decency within, to realize that, you know, I don't want to follow. I don't want to go against my core of goodness. You know, I want to stand firm in what is right. They won't do that. They won't do that, and so they are suffering as a result. Um, and that's kind of, you know, one of the purposes of Don the Con, to bring that out into people. He himself is on this earth is rotten to the core, and he is a test of integrity. And I've said this since many years. So I'll just say this. Um, this will continue to happen long after he's gone. You will still see the fallout of these supporters of his, and how it just ruins them, and ruins not only their lives but changes them. And notice how they change physically too. Physically, they it's it's like, remember I told you guys about the spirit having holes in it, pockets of holes, when we go against our divine nature, okay? That shows up physically. It does. It shows up, and it tells. You can spot an evil person almost immediately. You can spot a person who's embraced evil, who lives that way, who supports it. You can just, there's always a telltale sign. So, anyway, okay. The Supreme Court ruled that this administration could not deport any Venezuelans. That was a big blow to them, and only two dissenters. Of course, the typical Alito and Thomas. Surprise, surprise there. I told you guys, this is a recap. I told you guys Elon was, I've been saying this since last summer. He's sick. And he's also sick physically. Well, there was a video put out with him walking in a hangar, and he literally was short circuiting. There's something terribly wrong with him. Terribly wrong. And my original prediction was by the summertime it will be very obvious, and it will be like news, like we will all know it. He is sick, both here and physically. But if any of you care to look it up, I don't know what you would Google. Just the one I saw was April the 15th, maybe around that date. Elon walking in large showroom or hangar or something. He looks almost like a robot that someone pulled the plug on. Super weird. Very weird. Um, Another recap. I was asked a couple of videos back. I answered the question on the video about, you guys know how I told you about stocks. No, no, no. And Bitcoin, absolutely no. But the two things I did see were the minerals and uh, the gems, the gold, the silver, the platinum. Those would be steady investments that you could actually get behind. Gold hit a record high this past week, and it will stay sort of steady. So if you want to invest in something, that's it. But it did hit a record high, like 3,400 or over 3,400 an ounce, which is extremely good. Um, the second major incident of an immigrant that was detained, Juan Carlos, he was released. He is free. That's a good thing. These are different examples of love peeking through. Okay, love doing its thing, peeking through. I also told you guys, many of you asked me from two videos back and last video, would he was threatening to declare martial law. I did not see that, and I told you so. I just did not see him declaring martial law on April 20th, and he did not. Um, and I just don't see that happening nowhere in the near future. And want you to think about this. There are hundreds of millions of people in this country alone, and a good percentage of them are armed, right? So it just wouldn't work out well for anyone. Anyone. Them or the protesters, okay? But I just don't see that, and I definitely didn't see it for April 20th. I don't care how many times he threatened to do it or what this thing leaked was. I didn't see it, and it didn't happen. Um, Carmelo Anthony, I originally did not know about that situation. And a couple people kept mentioning it in the comments. So I'm like, before I even really looked up the situation, I saw intuitively that although he was going to have to go through the mechanism of the court type system and it was going to be dicey for a minute, I eventually see him as either cleared or free or whatever. And then I looked in that was like an instant flash, and then I looked into the situation, and I'm not even sure why this went to, or how it's gotten as far as it's gotten. But it seems like you know, privilege has a lot to do with this. But this gentleman will eventually know justice. I will say that. He will eventually know justice. Okay. Um, Libertarians in Texas are trying to impeach Don the Con. Do you love that? Do you love that? And they're serious about it. Go Google it. Go Google it. They are very serious about doing that. They claim that he has betrayed them on several fronts. And remember, libertarians to me are just basically, as I don't want to sound prejudiced against them all, but from what I have seen, libertarians are basically Republicans who are one of two things. They want the freedom to get high, or they are embarrassed to call themselves Republicans. And so they adopt the libertarian title. And before you jump all over me, if there are some libertarians on here, I'm sorry, but that is no, I'm not sorry, but that is actually all I've seen. All I've seen. You vote for Republicans, you support them, you champion for them. Okay, you everything that basically they stand for, you support. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, you are Republicans, um, just with a twist. Okay, um, but anyway, hey, the enemy of our enemy is our what? Friend. Um, and I don't take back what I just said, and I don't walk it back. Um, they're supposed to be for liberty and all this, and yet they support a party and vote consistently for a party that basically is trying to take all your liberties from you. So, um, that's that as far as I'm concerned. All right, let's talk about some of these questions because there's a lot of good ones. Um, so a lot of people had more and more questions about karma. Um, One person says it seems like it's an endless loop. Karma is not an endless loop. You can literally end a karmic cycle by not participating in the actions that cause the karma. So, for instance, uh, someone wrongs you, right? Does something to harm you, or maybe even someone you love. Okay. Instead of seeking retribution, you can dismiss them from your life, send the situation love, cut them out, and be done. That ends it. Karma will catch up to their actions. Their actions um, will have an effect on them eventually. Another thing that people are concerned about is your intentions. Someone mentioned intentions. Yes, intentions matter for karma. Okay, if you intend to do someone harm, if your intention is there to harm someone, yes, that creates a cycle of karma. Now, I've given this example before, and I think it's brilliant because it was given to me. So, say for instance, I'm carrying a load of clothes up the steps, and I drop a piece of clothing on the step. I don't realize it. My husband comes up and he trips over that piece of clothing that I dropped. Okay? And messes with his ankle, breaks an ankle, sprains it, whatever. Do I create karma for myself? No. There was no intention behind that. There was absolutely no intention to harm behind it. Okay? And my husband will recover from that. He'll be fine. Okay? So intention does matter. Here's another example that I'd like to give, and I want to find it on my phone. Here's the other example about intention. Okay? Would you speak about how intention affects karma, i.e., you donate a huge amount of money to charity, but your intention behind it is to receive recognition and be adored for your generosity versus donating anonymously? Does that create a karmic chain? Well, it doesn't necessarily create a karmic chain, but what happens is that gesture is empty. It carries empty energy behind it. So there is no flow back in energy to you. Okay? There is no boomerang effect back to you. Okay? Versus if it was done with a generous spirit, let it go, forget it, done, you don't even think of it anymore. And then next thing you know, a year later or a couple years later or months later, days later, whatever, something beautiful happens to you out of the blue, and you're like, wow, what did I do to deserve this? Well, it was that energy that you put out. Okay? That loving energy that was put out, it came back. Versus the empty energy with no power behind it that just dissipates. Okay, so that's another thing that involves intention that's not necessarily karmic related. Let's see, what else? Okay, I'm not going to read this one because it's super duper long, but there's someone that said that they wish their otherworldly occurrences were easy to understand. They get like signals from the universe, from the spiritual world, and they wish that they were easy to understand. None of it seems to give them insight or tell them what might happen in their life. Okay, let me stop you there. Rarely does spirit give any overt or obvious signs of how to live our life, what to do, which way to go. Rarely does it give specifics. It might give a little nudge. It might drop a little hint here and there. But we are supposed to do the work. Otherwise, it's cheating. Why come here? Why come here? We come here to flex. Oh, this way. Our spiritual muscles, right? We want to do this. When we sign up for this vacation here, we want to put our understanding into practice, okay? With a little help here and there. Even with me having a near-death experience and seeing all the wonderful things that I saw and was exposed to, unless I put that stuff into practice, it hasn't helped my life any. And for those of you that have read either of my books, you know that things haven't been like peachy for me. I have had to use the stuff that I've seen, use what I saw in an understanding, wise type of way. Put into practice these things. No one's going to do the work for us. No one. Not happening. They may throw a little whatever here and there, but not happening. We have to, one of the best, I think it was probably the greatest pieces of advice I was given by my spiritual guide before they sent me on my way packing. Good luck, Venia. Take care. Adios, sister. Was to live and live the best way I knew how, which meant use what I know at each stage, and the more I use, the more I learn, the more is revealed to me. I've got to do the work. No one's going to do it for me. No one. Nothing. The other side's not going to do it. And the reason I call them companions, but the reason they're called guides is because they guide. They don't do the work for you. Okay? But they also go on to say that if spirit is saying hello, I wish they used their voice. Yeah, spirit may shout here and there. You may hear your name called every now and then. That's just typically a, hey, we're here. We're around you type of thing. But they're not going to say, hey, Venia, do yourself a favor. Don't go down such and such street today because blah, blah, blah. And when your husband says this to you, don't say that. And no, not happening. Not happening. And I totally understand the person that asked this question. I really do. I understand where they're coming from. I understand the distress that this life can cause. I've been there thousands, not even 100, thousands of times. But we've got to live it the best way we know how. Put into practice what we do know so that we can learn more. And everyone should want to accomplish for themselves, because in the end, that's what will really matter. Okay? It's what will really matter. It's like if you took a test and the entire test answers were provided for you, what accomplishment would there be in you getting 100, knowing to yourself you did nothing to deserve it? Right? So I thank that person for asking that, and I hope they understand my answer is given in pure love, but it's just the truth. It's a tough love answer, but it's the truth. Let's see. You need to give a specific example of a dark night of the soul that I talked about probably 2 videos ago. An example of how one would correct it while they are here on earth. Dark night of the soul moment. You have a awakening one day that shows you honestly that you are a very unloving person. Or I'll give you one of my specific dark nights of the soul where I was shown that how impatient I was with certain people, or with people in general, and not only impatient, but how I caused so much trauma within them by my impatience. It was ugly for me seeing that. It was truly ugly. And it cut and it hurt. But I needed to see it at that period of time in my life when I saw that. And I have since adjusted and corrected. I still have my impatient moments, but I am nowhere near as impatient with other people and their shortcomings or things that they may not grasp or get. And I'm glad because of it. But it was ugly when I saw that in myself. Very ugly. So that's an example. For everyone, it's going to be different. Everyone. Let's see. Is it possible for our spirit guides to also be reincarnated on Earth at the same time they are being our spirit guide? Yes, they can have an existence in this dimension or any dimension that they want. We do the same thing. We may be living in a totally another reality at this same moment. And a lot of times, sometimes schizophrenics will have bleed throughs of other realities, of other existences that spirit may be living. But yes, it's very possible. Very possible. The soul can do just about anything. It can split its offshoots, its offspring into many different realities, experiencing any type of reality, existence, dimension that it wants to. Okay? It does not have boundaries like we have. Okay? And the very last thing I wanted to say was manifestation. I talked about that recently in a video, and someone said, well, they wanted to manifest a house. Now, I gave an example last week of my earring, and that I just held the thought that my spirit could see everything. My earring had been lost. I lost it, couldn't find it, looked for it, nowhere to be found. So I eventually just held in my thought, my spirit could see it, so therefore the earring really couldn't be lost. And I let it go. Let it go. And within probably the hour, I found it. In a really neat kind of way that I found it. I won't retell that story. But anyway, the same principle applies. The reason why manifestation doesn't often work for people is because they're trying to give spirit or whomever they are trying to manifest specifics. And here's the thing, if something does not serve your highest good, or if it's not supposed to be for you, or if it doesn't serve you, okay, 9 times out of 10, you're just not going to get it. It's not going to manifest for you. However, if you hold the thought, and I described this in my second book, but if you hold the thought of allowing love to determine what is best, knowing it will fulfill your need, your desire in the best way, and don't wrap specifics around it, you will typically manifest something that is better than what you could have even imagined. So say, for instance, this person is, like they've told me, they're trying to manifest a home. Well, the very first thought should be, you always have a home in spirit. Always. Your home is always in the spiritual world. With love. With divine love. right? That's your true home. So keeping to that thought and holding that thought and trusting that the perfect type home will manifest for you should be your goal. Not an actual house or whatever apartment or whatever. That may not be the best thing for you. It may not be best for you to have a house at this period of time in your life, right? And that could be for various reasons. You may eventually lose your job and not be able to pay for the house and then end up losing it, right? So, trusting in love, in the universe, in spirit, whatever, to manifest the best for you should be your goal. And not giving it specifics. Because we can't see the big picture or the overall picture or what's best. We're only looking from a very limited view. Right? Here's my cube. We're looking from right here. This one block. Meanwhile, there's so much more. Right? There's so much more there. But we're only seeing things from this one vantage point. Allowing spirit to do its thing for you will unfold things better than you could have ever imagined. And that is why when people try to get specific, okay, what they think they want, they're typically sorely disappointed, or it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't come about. Okay? So I hope that helps answer that question finally. But anyway, guys, I know I've been chatting on and on. But take care, everyone. I will see you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in with me. And again, thanks for everyone for always commenting some form of loveliness, kindness, support, etc. You know I hear you because you know I read the comments. All right? So take care.